This is a vendor-neutral distributed energy resource program. This is a new docket that we want to move forward with, which would provide for having the opportunity for there to be additional microgrids throughout our city so that we can better respond to different types of emergencies that obviously lead to widespread power outages, similar to what we saw with the Lighthouse program that Together New Orleans had with our different lighthouses that we have online now. I think there's like 9 or 10 online now. And so this would open up opportunities through a whole stakeholder process to figure out what additional projects like this we could do, whether they're lighthouses, whether they're, whether they're first responder type of buildings, whether they're, apartment complexes, what could they be? But this starts to set up the process to figure out, what we could invest in, what projects we could invest in, and also sets aside really about $32 million that we could work through applying these dollars toward these resilient hubs. So whenever you all are ready.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, council members. I'm Logan Burke with the Alliance for Affordable Energy. The Alliance is a 40-year-old consumer and environmental advocacy organization looking out for the interests of residential ratepayers and looking out beyond just the bill, but the holistic person who is paying the bill. So we're really excited to be looking at these kinds of programs to think about how to best benefit everyone in New Orleans.
And I'm Broderick Baggert. I'm an organizer with Together New Orleans. We're a membership organization of congregations, unions, clinics, other nonprofits, and developed the Community Lighthouse Strategy and have become convinced that this is something that is not just a program for one place at one time. It's something that has the potential to affect the way that our electrical systems are organized, and so see this as the beginning of taking that vision to fruition.
Great. Super. So the energy system we've all relied on for the last century it's not resilient. We know this because even very small storms are taking out our access to power, and they lead to health impacts and economic losses. As you mentioned, Councilmember Moreno, after Ida, there was an enormous groundswell of community interest in solving for climate change. We need to address the realities of living in our city, and especially as as climate change continues to show us how fierce it can be. But out of that docket that you created, two very clear visions of resilience kind of came up. Hardening the traditional system, that is investing in the poles, or distributing in resources where people live and work. And we know that the answer is not either or, it is both. Fortunately, the council knows how to move money into programs to make our poles stronger and our wires and substations better. And so the council has very thoughtfully made the decision to do that today. What this second resolution is really all about is figuring out and learning how to do the second part, which is independent ownership of these kinds of resources and the distributed energy to put it where people are, where people live and work. So next one. So the council's resolution and our proposal to create a distributed resilience program, or a vendor-neutral distributed energy resource program, align around a common vision, which is ensuring that everyone has access, equal access to multiple benefits that come with these resources, whether it's your home or your church or your restaurant or your school. But our shared goals include these resources for many more reasons than just the outage events. Distributed energy, it means the resources benefit everyone on blue sky days by alleviating peak demand and associated costs, and also contributing to the council's and the city's climate plans and strategies and policies, like the Renewable and Clean Portfolio Standard. So this means a stack of benefits all year round. Finally, this is also about safety. We've heard about the danger not only when there isn't access to power, but worse, when the solution is dirty gas or diesel, which can be a threat to both the user and a neighborhood trying to rebuild while surrounded by the emissions from emergency fossil generation. Next one. So batteries offer up energy, capacity, and flexible grid services. They make us better able to use the abundant solar power that is already across our city. Peaking power, as you well know, has driven decisions about generation in New Orleans in the last 10 years. Coordinated DERs can play this role. Distributed energy resources with batteries can also address a very specific challenge that we have here in New Orleans, where we sit in a transmission load pocket. Having the resources closer to where people are will play an important role in reducing the expensive congestion that we all pay for on all of our bills. So why now? Policy and research efforts, we've been kind of talking around and dancing around microgrids for years, starting, I think, with the Sandia National Labs and moving all the way through NREL. Fortunately, we also have the wind at our back. The City of New Orleans, the council has the unique authority to take action on this. There is community and individual momentum, and there are dollars to be leveraged. Entergy has a small pilot program, and they have acknowledged that it struggled to take off because of its limited scale. So New Orleans is ready. It's time to do something.
Thank you, Logan. This is the first docket I've ever been a part of. It's the first docket our organization has ever been a part of. These processes are not familiar to most people. And it has felt like crossing a river where you sort of have to feel with your foot for each stone. And at times, it's like, how do you have this system that's set up for one thing do something different? And through all of the challenge of that, we have felt like we have a supportive council, a supportive staff, supportive advisors, a supportive utility. You know, I mean, in trying to figure out how to do something new, and this finally puts us in the place to move in that direction. We think there are three big opportunities. First, to pull down a ton of federal funds for two reasons. One, the Inflation Reduction Act opens up incentives, federal incentives, for solar way beyond the for-profit entities for which it was available before. There's a 30% automatic, they call it direct pay, rebate. And in New Orleans, because we're an energy community, it's 40%. And for a lot of projects, because they're in low-income areas, it's going to be 50%. That's a 50% match. If this utility system figures out how to structure its funds to pull down that match. On top of that, the state has already gotten 2 grants that speak to what's being proposed today. One is called GRIP at the federal level. Our proposal is called HERO. That's the state's proposal. It's to the Department of Natural Resources. It is to expand on the ideas that have already started blossoming here and do solar and storage microgrids for resilience purposes, right? $249 million that needs a match. The people, the entities that come up with the match are going to be first in line for that funds. That's actually the grant that produced the federal match for the Sewerage and Water Board's substation, right? So already that's paying dividends. If we figure out how to systemize that, we have the chance to get the 40% plus whatever. It's basically a small match we're proposing, not in this resolution, but sort of just as organizations, that system funds be capped at 40% of the total construction costs for different projects. So there's an incredible opportunity for ratepayer value through leveraging these funds. What kind of projects? We've talked about, or one of the testimonies about a proof of concept. We already have proofs of concept. Community Lighthouse is one and has a bunch of different manifestations already. But Grantlet Staylet is another that's showing that the same technology can work for restaurants. The sort of grandfather of all these was the St. Philip Apartments on Broad, which showed us this is doable. It's not a pie in the sky, it's a construction project. It is our understanding and this isn't tracked officially, but it's our understanding that New Orleans has more solar and storage microgrids per capita than any other place in the country right now. We can build on that to do all kinds of other facilities. The city already has concrete plans for, I think, 7 of its city facilities that have been submitted as proposals for the GRIP grant. So those are Nord facilities, other charging stations. And as we understand it, gas generators did not go very well in this last disaster. So there's room to improve on that, and we know that that's the city's vision of improving on that. Senior centers are still not appropriately cared for in outages. If Francine had been longer and it had been hotter, we could have had some of the same situations that we had after Ida. Not just 1 or 2 clinics, every FQHC, restaurants, food retail, homes, individual residences, all of those have the potential to expand in this same vision of creating solar and storage microgrids. And the list goes on, but we get the idea. And finally, we got a chance to pull down federal funds. We have multiple proofs of concept that show that this can work for all kinds of different facilities. And there is a vision for the future that is emerging. If we were to build a utility system today where we live with what we know about climate change, we would not build big power generating plants hundreds of miles away from where the facilities where that power is going to be used and then convey it those hundreds of miles on wires on top of poles. There is an inherent vulnerability in organizing a system that way. You don't get to build a system from new. You have to start where you are. And it makes perfect sense to harden the system that we've got, right? I mean, we have been in favor of that all along. But at the same time, we have the chance to move at scale toward a different model where we, to the maximum extent we can, generate power as close as possible to where it's going to be used, often directly on top of where it's going to be used, saving money on distribution and transmission, saving money for customers, and having all of those assets tied together as grid assets in what's called a virtual power plant. So with that, the chance to pull down federal funds, a proof of concept, and this vision for the future, we think that is what is starting with this process today.
And I've just got one last thing to say about VPPs. It's innovative, yes, but it's not first of its kind. There are other cities and utilities, both municipal utilities and investor-owned utilities, that are investing in and launching virtual power plants. These range from the city of Austin to, Puerto Rico, in California, and in Vermont, where actually a distributed set of batteries has already been in people's homes to be used for both demand reduction to reduce costs for the grid for everyone and to improve resilience in people's homes. For a while now, they've been doing that, orchestrating the existing and new distributed resources so that they can show up like dispatchable resources that we've always been told we need. So this kind of program is what we will be certainly proposing during the process of that is laid out in the resolution, because we think that the slew of benefits, they all stack up in a way that really New Orleans, it's time for.
We're happy to take questions.
Yeah, and just kind of on that same path, and that's the other piece too in the docket that I'm really interested in, to figure out how many megawatts we could build through this and how quickly. So anyway, but those are things that I'm sure will be hashed out and determined as we go through the docketed process. Got it. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I will tell you that just in being in community, I have talked to a lot of people, a lot of organizations who are interested in becoming a lighthouse, and so I really feel like this is a way for people to really have hope that they can be in the future. I know 2 organizations that have stopped me to say, how can we become a hub? How can we provide our community with power, especially when we know a hurricane's coming or there's some random Mylar balloon outage that I'm just going to keep harping on. So I think this is a great step in the right direction, and hopefully we can speed process and get more people up and running.
And just if I could respond to that, the The whole goal of this is it doesn't have to be community lighthouse. I mean, let there be 10 strategies with 50 organizations that are doing, the whole idea here, I think here is we've got more than we can handle. Still want to hear from them, still want to invite them to be a part of it, but there could be in every sector. So this opens up, I think, the vendor neutral part, that this is not tied to any organization, it's not tied to any business, it's not tied to any strategy. It's wide open, and I feel like this finally gets at how to structure that, which we have not always known how to do in a docket where you're a party and you're being asked, what would you do, right? The fact that this opens that up means there can be 1,000 flowers that bloom.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, if there are organizations who want to be part of it, or if there are individuals who want to be part of it, how do they?
If it's Community Lighthouse, they should contact Together New Orleans.
Right.
If it's to be a part of distributed energy in some way, I think we would suggest they intervene in the docket or contact some entity that's planning to intervene in the docket.
And I will offer up the Alliance. We are very happy always to help people through the process that Broad described as kind of feeling around for the stones. We really want to make sure that this program is designed with everyone in mind and that there is an opportunity for that engagement. So you can always reach out to the Alliance for that part.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. All right, public comment. Let's go with Z. Smith, followed by Erica Zucker.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Z. Smith. I'm a principal at SQ Dumas Ripple, the architecture firm that led the design of the SBP St. Peter Affordable Housing Project, a 50-unit apartment building opened in 2020, and it kept the lights on when the rest of the city was dark. It kept the lights on and the AC running for 9 days after Hurricane Ida, using a combination of efficiency, solar, and batteries. Unlike installing gas emergency generators that only provide value during emergencies, this approach helps save money for residents day in and day out. They have residents, I've spoken with residents there who moved from an apartment building where they were paying $300 a month for utilities, and now they never pay more than $35 a month. The battery also allows the facility operator to limit their peak demand, keeping monthly demand charges low and helping stabilize Entergy's grid. We know this approach works. It's time to roll this approach out for more of New Orleans and focus on the most vulnerable: seniors, the poor, and people with severe health conditions. These are who died in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Let's set up a fund that moves quickly to enable projects like this that protect our most vulnerable from severe weather events and lower their bills, while Entergy works in parallel on the long process of strengthening the grid for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Zucker, followed by, let's see, it looks like Lawrence Koppel is up next.
Good morning. I'm Erica Zucker. I'm the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the Workplace Justice Project. I'm here to talk about labor standards. Surprise, surprise. I want to thank the Council for moving forward with this process to address sustainability of both our electrical grid and our climate needs. And of course, thank Together New Orleans, who I've worked with for a long time, and the Alliance for being here. This is a grand and necessary vision for our energy generation and delivery. But how we do this is as important as the decision to do this. And so we need to ensure, as we're rolling out this process, that the benefits are not only to the consumers of the electrical grid, all of us, but to those who build and manage the grid as workers. So we need to include labor standards in the grid resilience program. These standards must meet or really should exceed the Justice 40 principles laid out in the federal legislation on labor standards. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel on this, just as was remarked about, other cities are doing this kind of grid resilience and climate sustainability. Other cities are doing this, not only adding programs to address the hardening and cleaning our energy production and distribution, but doing it in a way that builds economic and racial equity by including, favoring, even incentivizing unionization, apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship programs, local hiring standards, and all the labor standards that this council has already put into place, as well as community benefits agreements and plans that ensure community participation in input. So I would just urge us to continue to keep those things in mind as we roll this out. And again, I am happy to help along with the Alliance and together in any way possible to make that a reality.
Thank you, Erica. Lawrence Koppel, followed, and after her, Calvin Lawrence.
Good afternoon. My name is Laurence Capel. I am a resident of the Lower Ninth Ward, member of the Holy Cross Homeowner Association. I wanted to thank the council for their work on this particular issue. It is very important, especially for the Lower Ninth Ward, as you're all aware. And I am elated to be here for once in favor of something. And especially when the funds that will provide this help will come from Entergy itself, and I would only strongly encourage you to continue to monitor utility companies that are for-profit and to continue to minimize the for-profit aspect of what has become a life and death issues for 99% of our population. So thank you.
Thank you. Calvin, come on up, followed by Jack Reno Sweeney.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Calvin Lawrence. I'm a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I'm a resident of here at New Orleans, been living there all my life. And I'm in favor of this program, and the only thing I want to say where we could take advantage of this for as changing the system from just relying on energy power grid to the most sustainable thing that y'all already approved, to go move into this, the zero net. And I just think that we need to make sure that the workers that do this, that the bill get approved to apprenticeship, be tied to apprenticeship program. You know, like I want to say just my personal testimony. For me, I see how it benefited my life, somebody who came home from jail working nonchalant jobs here and there until the buildings trade gave me an opportunity and let me into the union. And was able to present a time where I was able to build a career for myself. Now here I am 19 years later talking to y'all about this, man. I just hope that y'all will get this opportunity to people that's in this community like y'all, like you did it for me, man. Thank you.
Jack Reno Sweeney, followed by Nelson Brown.
Hello again, council members. Jack Reno Sweeney. I think I forgot to mention last time, here in my capacity as a volunteer representative of the New Orleans Democratic Socialists of America, of which I'm co-chair. I'm happy to be speaking strongly in favor of this one. The folks who have gone before me have mentioned a lot of great reasons why this is such a great program and ways that it can become something that really builds up our community in a serious way. I love this program, this idea, because it represents real resilience and not the buzzword kind of resilience that we hear about so often. What I mean by that is it creates real independence, creates real security, and does so without costing people an arm and a leg. It recognizes, and most important of all, that utilities work best as a public service, not as a cash cow for shareholders. So I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, or like Cato the Elder, Entergy delenda est, get Entergy out of our city once and for all, get rid of the middleman, and municipalize our grid. Thank you very much.
Mr. Brown, hang on before you start. Y'all, if you can, I'm excited that everyone's in support. That's great. But if you can hold your applause until the very end, I'd appreciate it, just because we have a lot of commenters. Mr. Brown, go ahead, followed by Chris Justice.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I'm the new kid on the block, 41 years of pastoring, and have been working with the program Algiers that is usually forgotten. We are the first to have the solar grid in our church, so we're excited. We're next to the Fisher Senior Village, where we serve those seniors every Monday, Tuesday. We fix them lunch. We make sure that they have all the necessities that they need, and this will give them the opportunity to come there and get out of the heat if necessary, get all of the things that they need, the food, we got water, we got our system all set up that they can have everything that they need within the church's budget. We have already adopted this program that we might be able to do for those that are most vulnerable. So we want to thank you for already being a participant and ask that you would continue to expand on this. If every church have one of these in the local area, what that can do for those individuals that are the least, the last, the lost, we call them, if they had a place to go. So thank you all for what you've done, and we thank Brad and all of those that have been working with us, especially now in the Algiers community. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Justin, followed by Reginald Vicks.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chris Justin. I am a licensed professional engineer and an energy efficiency consultant for the LPSC. I'm also a homeowner in District A. Your approval of the Phase 2 battery pilot program was a key factor in me deciding to get solar panels and a battery system. With 3 young kids, I wanted the peace of mind of knowing that we could safely ride out a short power outage and prevent minor hurricane damage from turning into major hurricane damage. This idea was put to the test during Hurricane Francine when wind-driven rain pushed significant amounts of water into our home. For hours, we continually changed out towels under our doors and windows. We were extremely grateful that our battery allowed us to stay and care for our home. Yes, we could have gotten a generator instead of a battery, but I didn't like the idea of spending thousands of dollars on a backup system that sits idle 99% of the time. It was much more appealing to finance a battery for a net cost of $42 per month after incentives. However, we can do more. I would have loved to have purchased 2 or even 3 batteries to be able to ride out minor storms indefinitely. The current incentives do not justify it, but an expanded VPP program could. A VPP is an innovative way to make our grid more resilient and affordable, even for non-participants. VPPs can reduce the cost of supplying our ever-growing electricity needs by displacing costly peaker plants and deferring distribution work. It can add up to a tremendous amount of savings. The Department of Energy estimates that VPPs can reduce overall grid costs by $10 billion per year nationally. Asking our neighbors to voluntarily share their battery during times of needs fits the ethos of New Orleans. We help each other out, and we use what we have. The fact that it's much more cost-effective to supply peak energy needs like this makes it a no-brainer. Scientists say hurricanes will become more frequent and more intense. I'm grateful to our community leaders for finding this way to transform our vulnerability into an asset, one that makes us more resilient during the worst of times, and one that saves all ratepayers money the rest of the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Reginald Vicks, followed by Sage Michael.
Good afternoon, council members. Appreciate this opportunity to offer some feedback as well. I serve as the Chief Operations Officer for a community health center in New Orleans, Crescent Care. We were the first FQHC in the city to join the Lighthouse program and have benefited tremendously since then. So health centers have strategic goals to serve the community and to do so in a way that serves the most vulnerable in our community. One of the reasons for installing solar panels and backup batteries for our facility was to maintain service delivery to our clients and to maintain access for the most vulnerable in our community. Integrating solar into our infrastructure also helps us reduce the carbon footprint that many of us don't realize is very extensive for healthcare organizations. We lowered our energy bill by almost 20% when we came online, which helps us put money back into the community and back into the services that we provide. I myself am a living witness to this, the impact of climate change and the lack of resiliency in our community. During Hurricane Ida, right before the hurricane, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. And when the power went out, and it affected so many of our healthcare providers in the city, couldn't get my radiation, couldn't get my chemo. We were fortunate that our power came back on after 3 days. But I want to tell you, mine is one story of many. And so I urge you to consider this very seriously and realize the impact that it can have on the healthcare services in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sage, come on up, followed by Michelle Firestone.
Thank you all. I'm solution-oriented. My name is Sage Michael, and I represent Help the Gulf as the Climate Justice Organizer and Fellowship Program Manager. We believe light is a right and transition away from the dependence on fossil fuels that take away from our environment with no repair and polluting our community with no or little accountability. Our current grid fails us in dependability and affordability. Dependability. Let's talk about outages because of squirrels and birds. A bird struck a substation, 10,000 customers were out. Do we ban birds and squirrels? Let's talk about towers falling into the river. Backup fossil fuel plants not working when it's needed to work. Let's talk about affordability. People with professional jobs are coming to me shocked at the spike in their light bills. Our community should not have to wait in a hot line to pay high bills. Light is a right for everybody. Many entities have made solar and battery storage investments and have proven to be effective when the lights go out, but they're not working together. We have to work smart, not hard. We must work to make connections and not isolated projects, but work towards that virtual power plant we are talking about. We can use this stored energy at peak times, demand times to avoid purchasing power that end up another line item on our bills. A virtual power plant can be tapped into not only when storms come, but on those blue sky outages days. What if we could tap in that stored buried power to help the lower cost of the most burdened in our community, to avoid them making choices like, do I pay my light or my rent? Do I buy groceries or pay the light bill? And real choices like my parents face. Do I pay for no field trips for the year or keep the lights on? So I missed field trips my high school, no homecomings, because my people couldn't afford the lights, but they kept food in my mouth. Let's not let another generation go through this. Why the profits go to the people that's living large on us. Light is a right. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Firestone, followed by Pierre Moses.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Michelle Firestone. I'm a member and current board president of Community Church Unitarian Universalist. We are a small but mighty church in Lakeview, and we were an early lighthouse, community lighthouse. We opened for the first time after Francine, the day after Francine, and things went smooth as silk. Everything ran very smoothly. The transition went very well for us. And I just want to speak in favor of having more lighthouses throughout the city, everywhere, so people can walk to a lighthouse and get what they need after a storm.
Thank you. Pierre Moses, followed by Jeff Canton.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Pierre Moses with 127 Energy, and I fully support this policy. Contrary to other incentive structures that have been in place via the state in the past, this VPP policy will create a sustainable program to incentivize DERs, incentivize grid services, and most importantly, incentivize customer resilience. I expect this program to attract private investment, attract interest from contractors and developers who are more than capable of building these types of systems but haven't seen the market opportunity. There are not enough vendors and providers who are here and active, and I'm excited for a more vibrant marketplace, a lot more competition, and residential and commercial customers to access resilient renewable energy systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Canton, followed by Jackson Smith.
Thank you. Jeff Canton, president of Solar Trade Association, Gulf States Renewable Energy, and longtime New Orleans resident. Very much thank the council for taking the initiative and the innovation to make some of the changes that we have seen and even entertain some of these that are being proposed. The issue of grid resilience, this proposal is unique in that it's addressing both for communities and for the city's overall grid management. The unique opportunity has benefits, really multiple benefits for ratepayers and residents to reduce costs while also reducing suffering. We know better as a community, really almost than anyone, the cost of doing nothing. You know, in the last few years, we've seen the weaknesses in our grid that become very apparent, and the likelihood of outages is only increasing with these stronger storms, and our hearts go to the folks in Tampa that are seeing what we've seen very much in recent years. At the same time, the hot summers are stressing the grid in unprecedented ways. Blackouts in some parts of the country, even if they're minor, they're a result of the stresses that are hitting us in ways that the utilities have a hard time predicting. The combined power of a virtual power plant helps to overcome these moments of stress on the grid. The unique value of this particular initiative is in its ability to address resilience broadly and set an example of how the community can band together the resources for the greater good using proven models and proven technology. The side benefit for our city is really a boost in green job creation, as mentioned by Mr. Moses, and the economic impact beyond just savings and resilience value to communities and businesses that can stay in operation. So the members of the association support this unique initiative and offer our support to help work through the technical and logistical elements involved.
Thank you. Jackson Smith, followed by Chester Williams.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Jackson Smith. I'm the executive director of Bastion Community of Resilience in Gentilly. The community that I lead is not yet a community lighthouse. We are reliant on the city's grid. And so when Francine was heading our way a few weeks ago, we had to cease programs for several days and spend that time dragging generators out of storage, filling gas cans, making trips to gas stations over and over, and making preparations to run our community center on this hodgepodge of backup power, and explaining to residents how we were going to do that. And in the course of making those explanations and preparations, I stopped a resident, an older veteran, and I asked him if he had been here for Katrina. And he said, yes, I was. I was a nurse. And on the morning of August 29, 2005, I had 13 patients under my care. 9 did not make it. It was the first person who I asked. That is the experience of our vulnerable populations in this city, as I know everybody on the council already knows. We know that when these events come, they will affect our most vulnerable most extremely. And frankly, it caused me a real sense of professional embarrassment to turn to these residents 20 years after Katrina and show them that I didn't have more of a safety net for them than generators and gas cans. The people of our city, frontline workers, frontline organizations will do whatever it takes. We know that. We know that they will work ventilators by hand in the dark if they have to. I just urge you to do whatever you can to give them more than generators and gas cans to get through the next event. And if we need another reminder, I think we are about to get a terrible one with the tragedy that is about to unfold for our friends in Florida. Thank you.
Thank you. Chester Williams, followed by Rebecca Merriweather.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Chester Williams. I'm a proud union electrical contractor here in New Orleans, and I'm also a DBE, a disadvantaged enterprise. I'm born and raised in New Orleans in a Desire Projects, matter of fact. I'm born at Charity Hospital. I'm a DBE, and I'm a successful DBE. My secret is these guys right here with the green shirts on. I know when I call folks to come and do a job, I'm getting people who have OSHA 10, CPR certification, and I was asked to come here today to put a face on who's installing the jobs. We done Household of Faith Church in the East. I know when I call a union hall, I'm getting capable, qualified people that's going to show up, do what they're supposed to do. We did a good job. We also done the next project. We had a guy that was recently released from prison, got in the apprenticeship program, 5-year program. He finished the program. He worked on a Household of Faith job. On the next job we done, he was the foreman on the job. He ran the project. He did an excellent job. When I was sitting down listening to the other speakers speak, I was thinking, man, they're forgetting to talk about the recidivism program. And to Brother Calvin said what the union done for his life, he forgot to say he's a union boss. When I'm late on my health benefits, Calvin is the heavy who come talk to you and let you know what you need to do. And Calvin, I never knew that. Calvin said when he came home from jail, I was shocked listening to it. He thrived in the union. Now he's a union official
The guy who I spoke of, I don't want to say his name, who was a foreman for me, he's making $85,000 a year. He's doing well. And I want to close with this. A lot of folk who I've been known all my life in this city, they say, man, why you want to be a union contractor? You paying higher wages, you paying benefits. Don't you think you can make more money? Yes. I told them, I got 4 kids. All of them was born in the hospital with health insurance. And I've been married for 36 years. So if I wasn't getting them good wages and benefits, I'm sure I might be on 3rd marriage now. We've been putting the jobs in. We've been doing a good job. We're excited about the opportunity. And I came here today to plead with the city council to get behind this program.
Thank you.
Project been great for us.
All right. Thank you so much. Rebecca Merriweather is the last speaker.
Thank you, Council. I rise in support of this project. I am a homeowner and a taxpayer. I live up in the Fontainebleau neighborhood. And about 7 years ago, I decided as an investment towards mine and my husband's retirement to put solar panels and a battery at our house. It served us really well and been a hedge against rising power costs. We typically pay considerably less than our neighbors. And so that's been a really good thing. Lately, I've been thinking about adding more panels and more batteries, and particularly so that when the grid goes down, as it did for us briefly in Francine, we get to sustain our battery life longer. And I take care of my 88-year-old husband and the 80-year-old tenant we have. And so I'm really excited about the possibility of this project enabling me to build out more capacity at my house without dipping too far into my retirement nest egg. And also to be part of a virtual power plant. I mean, that sounds really cool. It's going to be important to me to know exactly what the protections are, so I get to keep taking care of all those folks I mentioned. But also, so what's the payback? But watching that line on my power bill that says purchased power go down for me and my neighbors would be just a great reward to me, in addition to the extra security I secure for my own household. So thank you. I hope you'll move this forward today.
Thank you. Aaron, I know we have online comment. A lot of it. Is the majority of it, what is it, in support?
Councilmember, there were 60 comments. As far as I can tell, all of them are in support.
Okay, why don't you do this? Read for 5 minutes and the rest add to the record for everyone to understand what add to the record means. It's going to be added to this agenda. So when you go and, like, let's say next week, you want to take a look at all the comments, just go click on today's agenda and all of the comments will be listed on that agenda, okay? So once you read for 5 minutes.
The first comment is from John Gorman, representing Solar Network. I support the distributed community resilience plan filed by Together New Orleans and the Alliance for Affordable Energy because technology can reduce both danger to people's lives and expensive and longer project period transmission and distribution upgrades. Virtual power plant and microgrid programs using solar and batteries are critical solutions for our cities and country, and I support rapid progress on these solutions for New Orleans residents. Daisha Greeley, approve funding for resilience projects to the city, saving customers money, expanding renewable energy and battery storage, and ultimately saving lives. Eric Greeley, support proposal developed by the Alliance for Affordable Energy and Together New Orleans would expand solar and backup batteries citywide, both for community organizations and individual homes. Jake Webster, dear City Council, please vote to support distributed community resilience proposal. Virtual power plants based on linked, coordinated solar panels and batteries are an alternative solution to peak power needs and the traditional reliance on the most expensive and most polluting peaker plants. Michelle Legault, Please support the distributed community resilience proposal with increased large storm frequency. Locally produced and stored power is more resilient and supportive of community, both during construction and at storm-driven times of need. Ryan Smith, representing Kairos Solutions. We at Kairos Solutions wholeheartedly support the Distributed Community Resilience Plan filed by Together New Orleans and the Alliance for Affordable Energy because it provides needed energy access to the New Orleans community in a cheaper, cleaner, and more reliable manner than traditional infrastructure. These are solar and battery microgrid programs are critical for our cities and country, and we support rapid progress on these solutions for New Orleans residents. This will also help New Orleans be a leader in resilient and equitable power solutions. Spencer Fields, representing Energy Sage. I strongly support the DCR. Stu Pomeroy, I support DCR and DER resilience deployments. Savannah Bertrand, representing Sealed. Sealed is a climate tech company on a mission to stop home energy waste. Sealed is an aggregator in energy efficiency programs, providing software and solutions to contractors to help them install more projects and grow their businesses. Sealed supports the Distributed Community Resilience Plan filed by Together New Orleans and the Alliance for Affordable Energy. Virtual power plant and microgrid programs using solar and batteries are critical solutions for our cities and country, and we support rapid progress on these solutions for New Orleans residents. Catriel Mendy. New Orleans has a long history of electrical innovation. From the early days of commercial power generation, New Orleans deployed electric grids before Edison's power plant in New York City. New Orleans has constantly found ways to adopt technologies to shine a light and improve the outcomes for our communities. Today's proposal represents the next chapter in that history of innovation. Distributed energy resources present an incredible opportunity to make New Orleans communities more resilient against the effects of extreme weather events. This approach reduces reliance on diesel generation when the logistics of replenishing fuel is at its most complex, or the centralized grid when it's most vulnerable. Existing shelters like Joe Brown Park, where I grew up, could be retrofitted in months, not years, providing immediate benefits and security to New Orleans communities. This approach should be adopted to rapidly change the landscape of New Orleans and offer low-cost outage protection and new dispatchable resources to support the overall health of the grid. Alexander Schneider, representing Voltus. DERs can be a critical resource in areas where natural disasters can strike. They provide resiliency and act as a safety net to those who would not have power after a natural disaster. Clayton Meeker. Please enable this existing functionality. I have this in my home, and it has been a blessing to me, my neighbor, and ERCOT in times of the most electrical strain on the grid. Joel Sanstisteban, representing EcoSuite. The future of our energy system is digital and distributed. This future will be more cost-effective, reliable, and resilient than at any time in the history of our grid. This program is a step forward for the community and has the opportunity to set a powerful precedent for the many other communities deserving of such grid-enhancing technology. I have 7 seconds left.
Just add them to the record, Aaron. Thank you. All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve this resolution as soon as it comes up. Seconded by Councilmember Harris. All in favor? Aye. We've got 3 yeas, no nays, and it moves on to the full council. Go ahead and put both of them on consent for the meeting on the, obviously we missed the agenda meeting for the agenda deadline for tomorrow, so it'll be the 24th? Okay, so it'll be on consent for the 24th. Got it. All right, I don't think I have anything else, do I? Nope, just adjournment. Councilmember Harris moves to adjourn, seconded by Council Vice President Morrell. All in favor? Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you.